Well, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for spelling out UNESCO's full what the acronym stands for. The UNESCO is, as you most of you, I'm sure you know, is the United Nations agency specializing in education, science, culture, communication, and information. So we are a specialized agency of the UN. We have 193, I believe, member states, so more or less the whole world. And our aim is to support our member states in our different competencies in the different areas of our mandate. So I am particularly based in the sector of education. And more particularly, I work for a section of the education sector that deals with youth literacy and skills development. And what I'm going to focus my presentation on in the next few minutes, given the topic of the discussion today, is our work on qualifications and certification globally. And I will also speak briefly about this new tool that we have been working on in the last few years. The Tim also mentioned in passing in his presentation, the World Reference Levels, which is a tool that aims to assist individuals and organizations in understanding and recognizing qualifications, credentials coming from different contexts. I work on qualifications. So just to give a brief introduction, that we work at several different levels. So we work at a global level with all our member states. We're trying to develop tools on the recognition of skills and qualifications, such as the World Reference Levels tool that I will speak more on in detail on later on. We also have a wealth of resources and publications that we develop very often with our partners, both other international agencies, experts, national governments, agencies, NGOs, and so on. Just to give you a flavor of that, we have been working in the last few years in producing a global inventory on national qualification frameworks, which is a publication that appears every 2 years and tries to capture where countries are in terms of their development of an implementation of national qualification frameworks. Again, I'm going to speak a little bit more in detail about this later on. We're working on the issue of learning outcomes, and we are currently preparing a publication on the use and the development and the use of learning outcomes across the world. We also do quite a bit of what I call here foresight or research work. So we're trying to look at new trends, and that has been obviously also even prior to the current COVID crisis, which has launched us all, has pushed us all into this new world. But very more particularly, much of our foresight and research work has been focusing on these new trends of how digitalization, in fact, is affecting the world of qualifications and certification, with all the new digital credentials that are appearing, the new types of micro credentials, and so on. So we're doing some kind of foresight work on this. And then at more specific, at national level or at regional level, we also work closely with our member states, specific member states, trying to assist them in developing and strengthening their qualification systems. We also work with regional organizations, and by regional here I mean organizations such as, for example, the European Commission, or ASEAN in the context of Asia Pacific, or CARICOM in the Caribbean, several African economic organizations such as ECOWAS or SADC, and very often we work with them to address this issue of assisting them to harmonize the qualification systems with the view to assist mobility of people across borders within their particular regions. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of a flavor of what we have been, what the recent trends have been in the area of qualifications in the last 2 years, and these messages, these bullet points, if you like, come from the latest edition of our global inventory on national qualification frameworks that we have been developing with the agencies appearing at the top of the slide there. So with European Commission agencies on TVET, primarily ETF and CEDEFOP. So countries have been increasingly moving towards developing national qualification frameworks. And a lot of that is happening in their efforts to try and harmonize their systems within their own borders in order to assist people with the sorts of issues that we've been talking about in this webinar. So reskilling and upskilling and having their skills recognized. So this is an increasing trend. We are seeing that at the moment we have more than 150 countries at different stages, I have to say, of having developed and implementing an NQF. And the NQFs, I think what's very important to understand is that they're based as a common language for them to work is the using learning outcomes. So again, the trend towards developing an NQF is going in parallel with this trend towards switching education and training towards learning outcomes rather than inputs, as it has been perhaps previously more common. We have this trend towards having NQFs at national level, but then, as I said, also at regional level across countries belonging to the same regional organizations, such as the European Commission or ASEAN, or the European Union or ASEAN or CARICOM and so on. We're having increasingly the development of regional qualification frameworks, which again are at different stages of development. So we have the European Qualifications Framework, which you may be familiar with, and which is perhaps the most advanced in terms of being implemented. But ASEAN, the Asian Qualifications Framework is also quite an advanced stage of implementation. And we also have other regions of the world that are moving towards this effort to harmonize. And in terms of new trends, what we're seeing is that we are having increasingly new types of digital credentials that are appearing, and the use of digital technologies that to support the quality assurance processes of qualifications and the transparency of the recognition processes. Blockchain technology, for example, is increasingly being used. Yeah, so we're seeing this new trends, and one of the challenges that many governments are struggling with, I think, is how these new types of these new digital ecosystems that are cropping up everywhere, how they can be captured and how they can be how they can communicate and how they can be harmonized, if you like, with a more formal qualifications and formal qualification systems that exist and have existed for some time within the education and training systems. So we're seeing, I've just tried to put here in this slide a few kind of global challenges and solution to challenges, if you like. So the increased globalization is moving organizations such as ours towards the development of global instruments and tools that can aid countries across the world, even from within different regions, to understand and recognize credentials, certificates, skills that come from different contexts. And what I should just mention in passing that UNESCO has been working on developing normative instruments that help countries to recognize skills and qualifications across borders. We have recently adopted the Global Convention on the Recognition of Higher Education Qualifications. This is only about higher education qualifications, of course, but we're also trying to work towards developing some sort of hierarchy of level descriptors that can allow comparisons for any kind of learning and any kind of qualification, including vocational and training qualifications. And one such tool and methodology that we have been developing is the World Reference Levels tool, which is what I would like to focus the last few minutes of my presentation on. So if I could have the next slide, please. Yes, so as you know, when we move to different types of vocational areas or technical areas, the same qualifications from different countries can be quite different with regard to what they mean and the scope of the learning outcomes and what the sort of skills that they equip the individuals with and the sorts of jobs that they allow them to do. And there's no global recognition framework. So the aim of the World Reference Levels tool is to try and translate any qualifications any type of qualification or credential that is based on learning outcomes into some sort of internationally recognized description that can be used then when to allow people to compare and to understand at what level this particular qualification is. So it's like a translation tool or a reference or a benchmarking tool, if you like, that can be used internationally and across different areas and sectors. So it is not based on it has not been developed to be used for a particular sector or discipline. It's been developed in a very broad way, let's say, so it can be used both at national level. So it can be used to allow people to compare different types of qualifications or new types of qualifications, the digital ones that I've been talking about, and to see how they can map onto more formal qualifications that come out of the formal system. But more importantly, I think what we had in mind as we have been developing the WRL is to have it as a tool that can enable comparison and recognition of qualifications and skills across borders, with the aim to facilitate mobility of people, both learners and students and workers. We have been developing the WRL in partnership with a wide range of partners. So although UNESCO has been convening and leading this work, if you like, we have been developing this over time with a very wide range of partners, both other agencies from within the United Nations systems, such as the ILO, but also many regional organizations that are in the process of developing their own regional frameworks, and also certain national governments and agencies that have a particular interest in this area, and a range of experts in this field. So I have to stress that this is not just UNESCO work. It might be UNESCO-led work, but it's very much a global effort and the final outcome of it is a tool that will be able to be used by anyone. Yes, this is just to give a little bit of a graphical representation of what the tool looks like and what it aims to do. So what you see in the middle, the three blue circles, are the three main components of the WRL tool, which are stages, elements, and the directory. And I'll come back to this in a minute. And you have the let's say the input and the output. So the idea is that the input will be any kind of product that is based on learning outcomes. So it can be a formal qualification, it can be a partial qualification, like a specific module, for example. It can be even a job specification or an entry requirement for a course. It can be a record of non-formal learning or informal learning. It can be a new, digital badge or some type of new digital credential. And then what the tool does, it tries to translate what the learning outcomes of these qualifications are into a standardized form, with the aim to producing a standardized profile and report, which is the final, let's say, output of the tool, and which is what we've listed there on the right-hand side. The tool has been developed through drawing on lots of research from different types of frameworks, both national qualification frameworks, but also particular sectoral frameworks, regional frameworks. So we have done a very long process of research, and we're still doing it because we're still in the stages of piloting this tool. It's not completely finalized, but the tool uses 11 factors, which are close conceptually to what a qualification frameworks often call domains. So these factors are found commonly in tools for organizing and evaluating qualifications, and we use these to create a description for this standard form in WRL terms. And then each factor is described in terms of 8 stages. And the way it actually works is that users are asked for each factor to decide which stage is the best match for the outcomes for the particular qualification that they, or entry requirement, or whatever it is, they're trying to assess. And the answers to these questions are used to create a profile and a more detailed report that can then be used by individuals or organizations to try and understand whereabouts in terms of their own framework, or in terms of their own hierarchy or standards, this particular qualification falls. The tool is available online, and I've included there the web address. As I said, it's still in the final stages of being piloted, but we have already used it extensively with a very wide range of organizations, both national credential evaluating agencies, or private sector organizations, and we're in the final stages of piloting it. And we're also currently discussing with Certif-ID how we can use it in the context of their own work and the skills pass more specifically. I think I have one more slide which gives an example. It's a fictitious example, I believe, of this sort of profile that the WRL tool can produce. So these are on the left, you see the 11 factors that I talked about earlier. So you can see it's activities, responsibilities, working with others. So it's different domains where people can develop skills. And depending on the sort of question, the sort of answers to the questions that have been inputted, the tool can produce a profile like this one, which can give a one-page snapshot, let's say, of a particular qualifications profile. So sorry if I've gone over time. I think I might have gone a little bit over time. So this is what that's a very brief introduction of the sort of work that UNESCO is doing on qualifications, and more particularly in the area of recognizing and comparing qualifications across borders. And this is my email address, where you could contact me if you would like to discuss anything further. But of course, I'm quite happy to answer any questions in the remainder of this this event. Thank you very much.